You ready there? We're recording, smart ass.
Hey there, smart ass.
What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Nothing. 10 o'clock.
Sunday night?
Yeah, man. I think we used to like record kind of late, I feel like, but I feel like this might be one of the later ones that we've done in a while. So hopefully you'll stay awake through my fucking volley.
Dude, fuck, since quarantine, man, I ain't fucking been to bed before 1 o'clock
Oh, really?
at all.
You stay up for real? Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. Like, last night I went to bed at 2 or 3.
Damn.
I was up at 7. Like,
Damn.
it was fine.
Yeah, I can't do that. Like, I want to. I'm like, ooh, cool. I'm gonna stay up and I'm gonna work on some shit. Like, I'm gonna post some stuff on YouTube for our show, some episodes, get caught up. I'm gonna do some research. I might even play some Call of Duty and die a bunch real quick. And but then I'm like sitting there, I'm just fucking falling asleep. Like 10 o'clock. I'm like, God, I'm weak.
Yeah, nah, so, like, I've been playing, like, when I get a chance, which it's actually interesting, like, now that Knox is getting older, like, I feel like I have a little bit more time to play a video game here and there, but it's definitely not, like, I can't do stretches. Like, I can't do, like, an hour here, 2 hours here. Like,
Yeah.
I could, like, when he took a nap or something, but, you know, that's just kind of shitty. Like,
Yeah.
there's tons of stuff
To do.
that needs to be done,
Right.
that 2 hours of me playing a video game is really fucking selfish.
Yeah.
So, like, the other night, though, I was able to sit down here and play, and I was like, I actually playing this game where, like, there's a lot of cooperative shit that goes on, and it's like a military game, and I fucking love it. But, like, dude, I'm so far removed from playing video games with other humans
Yeah.
that, like, I don't have, like, a mic and a headset anymore. Like,
Right.
so I basically, like, had to call my buddy and, like, put the phone on speaker, and we, like, played the video game with the cell phone on speaker so that we could, like, coordinate what the fuck we were doing. It was the most janky 2020, like, it's 2020, and, like, I'm fucking having to call my buddy up and talk on the phone to play a video game with him. I was like, dude, what the fuck?
That's hilarious. Oh shit! I tried to play Fortnite with a buddy of mine. Him and his kid play, and he's like, "Dude, we play in these tournaments. We win money and shit." And I was like, "Well, I don't know, Fortnite." I was like, "Seems like a thing like kiddies and shit like play." And he's like, "No, it's pretty fun." So I started playing. I was like, "Eh," but like I put my headset on that I've had since I don't know the '90s or something. And yeah, and like the mic didn't work, and so I was like, "Oh, well, let me grab my." Like I had my old Beats by Dre headphones and I put those on and that's what I was using and I was like, it's working, but still I agree I don't have the time to sit and do it, but I also don't have the attention span to sit and do something for like more than 30 minutes or not a video game. In my mind I'm just going, oh, there's so much shit that I need to be doing. I can feel my wife just being like, you lazy fuck, don't sit and play video games. So, you know, it's fun, but not enough to where I'm gonna get back into it or nothing.
Well, dude, like, I used to be able to, like, man, I could fucking bang out like fucking 6-8 hours of team deathmatch and shit on a fucking Call of Duty back in the day, like, and love it. And now, like, dude, my taste has just changed. Like, I don't really give a fuck about team deathmatch at all, or like free for alls and shit. Like if the point of the game is just to run around and kill people, like I don't give a shit about that. Like I need like storyline or like I need an objective to like be doing. Like just massive chaos, like battlefield shit. Like I'm just like,
yeah, it's because you're not trying to reach another level of, you know what I mean? Like you don't have a goal.
I'm also not 12 years old from Germany or Korea or what the fuck ever.
Which is why I lose considerably more than I win, and I just get aggravated. So.
And I'm also not a very like patient or gracious loser, so it's really not good for my.
You're cursing at little kids.
Well, it's not good for like my serenity. Like that'll fuck my day up.
What's
Like
wrong,
that.
dude? Fucking Call of Duty, dude.
Like that. Like I hate to say it like that, but that will literally like fuck my day up. Like that little bastard. Like and I'm like such a sore loser where I'm like I want to get back on and fucking go. Like so like I've decided that like I just stay away from team deathmatch games and shit. Like I love Modern Warfare and like those games, like just playing through the game.
Yeah.
But after that, I'm like, people are like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna get on," and I'm like, "Have fun with that, bro."
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, I suck at it. To totally change gears, you know what else I suck at? Apparently using a wheelbarrow. Because my old fence, I remember I had the privacy fence put up. Well, the chain link fence that was there, they just left. And I was like, all right, well, shit. And so luckily my neighbor's having some junk moved around. And I was like, I can't, dude, it's like concrete on the end of the post. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can kind of lift it, but I can't carry it to the front of my fucking. So I'm like, well, so he let me borrow his wheelbarrow. Not easy to do. And I look like an idiot. My neighbors are out there and they can't come help me because of social distancing. So I'm just like, got it. It's falling over and shit. I was like, this is the worst. I'm going to be so happy when fucking my yard is done and I never have to go out there and work.
Dude, my wife and I have literally been talking about like, you know, like we're gonna redo the basement. Like we're pretty set on redoing the basement.
Yeah.
And not like redo the basement. Like I'm not doing anything fucking crazy, but like we're gonna like do a little bit to the basement. And then like we'll catch ourselves talking about like, hey, let's do this and this and then and we're both then like after about 2 minutes we're both like, no, dude, like we're moving. Like fuck this. Like why am I gonna continue to pour money into a house that I don't give a shit about? Like
Are you guys so you guys are already considering moving?
dude, I've been considering moving for like a year.
Oh, ever since you found out about the fucking screens on your windows, you're like, I'm out of here.
Not even that, man. That was recent. That the screens on the window thing was recent.
Right.
That just, but like, nah, dude, like it's weird. Like the shit that you look at when you buy a house, like when your life changes. Like we bought this house before we had a kid, like before we were even married. So like the shit that we looked at, like we were like, we went into it like we watch ourselves some TLC. We're gonna fucking get a house in pretty good condition. We're gonna fix some shit up. We're gonna flip it. We're gonna buy the next house. Like, nah, dude, fuck that. We are way too fucking lazy for all that shit. Like,
Oh,
don't get me wrong. Like when we start a project, like I can knock some shit out. Like I have a decent mind for, you know, like there's certain things that I have to be like, all right, I gotta look that up. Like I don't know how to do that shit.
Yeah.
But like I just don't want that, man. Like I want to move into a fucking house where everything's fucking done. Like and I get it.
Done.
Like I get it. Every house is gonna have stuff that pops up. Like that's not the conversation I'm having. Like I don't want to move into a house where it's like redo the basement, put in a sunroom, like do this, do this, do this. Like plus we're in a shitty fucking zip code for fucking kid schools and
Yeah.
like I fucking hate having neighbors that can like our neighbor right now, man, like he's a younger dude, he's got 2 big fucking dogs and I, you know, whatever, but like they stay outside of our window and bark until 11:30, 12 o'clock at night every fucking night.
Oh no.
And, yeah, dude. So I'm just
I got it.
I'm out. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
all
My
done,
next house.
all
My
done.
our next house is all done. That's right. Our next house, I'm literally going now I know what to look for. Like, okay, I need to go and look at the corners and make sure all the trim is there and I'm not going to have to do that. And like if I want crown molding, the shit better already be there. And make sure you like the fucking fireplace, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
dude, rookie, you know, we're rookies. It's our first home and I feel like we got good houses. I mean, don't get me wrong, like these were I wouldn't even call this a starter home, but really, like, I'm happy with it for sure. We've already talked about, like, but I think we're going to actually look into, and I'm here, I don't want to talk about this shit, but fucking, like, we're going to rent our house out and then get another one, but I don't want to make a fucking
Yeah, I mean,
episode about my fucking life and whatever.
but I mean, like, legitimately, this is the first house I ever bought, and dude, it's 2,700 square feet with a fenced-in backyard and attached garage.
Yeah.
In the heart of fucking Breckenridge, like, it's a nice house.
Yeah.
But it's just like looking at it, like having a kid now, and like looking at the house, I'm like, I don't like strategically, like, okay, when the second kid comes along, then we got to rearrange like what fucking bedroom is what, and I'm just like, dude, no, I'm out, like, fucking done.
Oh, dude, that's a whole nother fucking conversation of we've already planned of which house this is going to be his room until he's this age, and then he's going to be and then oh, dude, it's
No, bro, next house is like, all right, man, fucking everybody's picking their rooms.
Yeah.
Like, for the two kids, like Ash and I are gonna be like, all right, this room is Knox's room, this room's the next kid's room, this is our room, and everybody's gonna fucking stay there. This room's gonna be my fucking office, that room's Ashley's office. Like, this is what, like, I'm not no fucking projects. Like,
no projects. This is done.
I'm good. I'm zero projects.
Right.
So.
Well, shit. All right. Well, what are we? 20 minutes in talking about our houses again. All right, dude. That's what's going on.
Hey, man, we didn't talk about plague.
Yeah, that's true. No, we didn't talk about fucking plague. Oh, shit. Well, hell, if you like our tips for home ownership.
Yeah, right. Go to Instagram or Facebook at Based on True Events Podcast for more DIY.
How not to fucking do it. Yeah, right. Hey, we also have a twatter. We don't talk about our houses, but we do talk about our podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hit us up on the twatter.
At Podcast BOTE, BOTE.
Yeah. If you don't want to only listen to us talk about our houses, but you want to watch us talk about our houses, you can go to YouTube.
Or Google and just type in Based on True Events Podcast.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We got our I Wrote for BOTE still going on. We send you a free t-shirt if you are the listener suggestion that we have picked as our favorite for the month.
That is right. And then for those of you who are sending in your suggestions, we are sending 4 contenders into the suggestion pool on our social medias. And so people can vote on what episodes they want to listen to, as this is just as much your podcast as it is ours. We want you to enjoy what you're listening to, so you guys can pick up the order of the episodes that we do them in.
That's right. We just knocked out the first 2. We presented 4. You knocked out the Russian mad scientist, and you just did Jesse James.
Yeah.
And tonight I'm going to do the number 3. But before we get into that, is there anything else? Plug?
We'll do the field trip when, I don't know. Like, I'd love to say we'll do the field trip when the world kind of goes back to some semblance of normalcy. We'll do the field trip whenever it suits us. Like, that's pretty much the decision that I've made, because I don't really trust the world to go back to any semblance of normalcy for some time. And I don't think we want to wait until 2024 before we decide to go to Waverly.
Right.
So
visit our tuberculosis center. We'll do it when it's right. That's right.
Yeah. When it strikes our fancy.
That's right. Our new website's gonna be posted soon. We'll make sure to let you guys know about it, and keep doing what you're doing, man. We're past 8,500 listens, and we're fucking stoked. So
yeah. So and just a little side note on the website that you just mentioned. Of course, we want you to continue to like come to our social media pages and support us and send our stuff out. You guys have been amazing about that. But the idea of the website coming out is to kind of be like a housing area for when we have merch going, like, you know, if you guys
the central hub. It's easy. Instead, honestly, trying to plug all these different spots, it's it's all over the place, and I know that's how people do it, but why? Let's just have a fucking home base, hence the website, which is going to be based on trueeventspodcast.com. I mean, we already own it. We just got to design it, and so hey, you know.
Yeah. So we're actually it's to ease up the 5 minutes of plugs and all of this. You know, we're trying to streamline it, get maybe a little bit more professional with the game that we're playing here.
Yeah. We're stepping our game up. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So you guys have been amazingly supportive and helpful in our journey through this podcast game. And as a reward to that, we're trying to be a little bit more professional in the way that we present our product to you.
That's right. Well, I'm stoked about the fucking website because we're gonna, we need to get better about, and once we're back, knock on wood, very soon. In fact, hopefully next couple episodes, we'll be back in the basement. We're gonna start taking some, more images so we can share content with you guys other than just the episodes. Like you said, merch, but I want to do some artwork. I got a ton of friends who are talented. I'd love to get some cool shit, that we can help or not help, but that we can share. And shit. So I'm stoked as fuck about it. As fuck about it.
AF. I'm AF. Stoked AF.
Speaking of stoked, dude, I'm stoked about my topic tonight. You want me to jump into it?
Yeah, man. If I can get it going, son.
All right. Sit back and relax, bitch. All right. So the third, yeah, right. Yeah, it is. It's the third voted on the list was Samuel Little. So Samuel Little was actually on my list, or I had sent it to you that one day because I had seen it like a little news something pop up, and it was like serial killer arrested in Louisville, and I was like, oh shit, we got to get on this. Turns out it was like 2012, but I thought it was recent. So anyway, that started my whole dig with Samuel Little. So I was excited to see that this was suggested and then the fact that it actually, because when we do the 4 topics, we don't assign them to each other. We just have an order. And so whatever order you guys choose, it could be Shep, could be me doing it. So I was stoked that I got this one. Especially over the fucking lame ass Jesse James, which you did justice. Don't get me wrong, but he was weak.
I mean, maybe he wasn't, if you haven't listened to that episode, maybe he wasn't lame.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe he was an amazing historical icon that you need to revisit.
My apologies. He's very compelling. Go and listen to the previous episode. It's awesome.
The episode is compelling.
Regardless
of how it pans out, the story is actually compelling. So.
Yeah, I'll just say this, spoiler alert. If you have a Jesse James tattoo, you're not going to like the episode.
Yeah, it might not be your
cup of tea.
It might not be your cup of tea.
Oh, shit. All right, let me jump into it. So Samuel Little was born June 7th. By the way, dude, pages of notes. So bear with me. My reading here. But so he was born June 7th, 1940 in Georgia. I think it was Reynolds, Georgia, but Georgia. His mother was in his words, a lady of the night.
So she was a hooker?
She was a hooker. Yeah, he was basically raised by his grandma in Ohio. His mother was in and out of his life. But dude had not a great start to this world. His mom basically left him on the side of the road, like in the fucking dirt, like a couple days or a week or so after he was born. So pretty shitty upbringing. How
are you gonna roll past that? Like, dude, how are you going to roll past that? She left him in the dirt a couple of days after he was born. How the fuck did he live?
Obviously, somebody found him. I don't know, to be honest with you. So I will, let me preface this. Although I have like 6 pages of notes, there's not a whole lot on this guy because it's fairly new in comparison to some of the other shit that we've done. And you'll understand why as we get into it. We'll talk about it a little bit, why there's not a lot. But there's really nothing about his childhood other than kind of the bullet points and the shit that he has said, quotes from him directly. So I don't know how I don't know how he survived or what happened, but apparently that his mom's a piece of shit. That's the point.
Literally, only reason I ask is because there's literally no other species on the face of the planet that has less survival skills than a human being when we're born.
When we're born. Yeah, dude.
We're just a mushy pile of skin
Yeah.
when we're born. And like all we do is cry and shit and need food every 20 minutes. So
and we can't feed ourselves.
Yeah, and it's very confusing how someone could survive from the get living on the fucking in a ditch in the road.
It could have been like his grandma. I don't know, to be honest with you, but clearly somebody found them. It was on the side of a road. Like they'd said that he was like in the dirt. Like just his hooker mom sucked balls. All right, that's the
okay.
Other than that, there's very little on his childhood. I wrote down. He grew up with little attention and started getting in trouble at a young age. He was first arrested in high school for a B&E, breaking and entering. He got sent to juvie. In his 20s, he went to live with his mother in Florida. And I literally wrote in quotes, or in quotation, in parentheses, 2 things were wrong with that sentence. Can you pick them?
Yeah.
A, he went to live with his mom, the piece of shit who put him in the dirt. And 2, it was Florida. So,
what? Yeah, but wait, how old was he again?
in his 20s, like after high school, in his 20s.
Who the fuck sends anybody who's 20 anywhere?
Yeah, well, he went to live with his mom, like after high school. Well, I'm pretty sure he dropped out of high school, but yeah.
I thought you were saying like, oh no, they sent him to go live with his mom. Like,
Oh,
you
no,
ain't sent me anywhere, motherfucker. Like,
no, he got sent to juvie for the breaking and entering, and then after high school, I guess I think he dropped out. I'm assuming. In his 20s, he went to live with his mother in Florida, and I said there's 2 things wrong with that. His mom.
No, I heard that bit, but I hung up on that he was already in his 20s, and
they didn't send him. He went on. Oh yeah, right. He worked in sanitation and in a cemetery, just whatever he could do to make money. He started to travel and live a transient lifestyle. Bouncing around a bunch. Between 1957 and 1974, Little was arrested multiple times in 11 different states. In 1961, Little was sentenced to 3 years in prison for breaking into a furniture store in Lorraine. I'm not sure where that is. He was released in 1964. By 1975, he had been arrested, 26 times in 11 states for crimes including theft, assault, attempted rape, fraud, and attacks on government officials.
Okay.
So he was a wild one. He had a DUI, a bunch of stuff. Spent a lot of time in prison, although the total was less than 10 years. So he kept getting, obviously, like little stints, I guess, for what that's worth. While in prison, Little took up boxing as a middleweight. He would fight like other prisoners. That's always strange to me that they have like boxing where you can fight other prisoners. And I'm like, damn, it's like, organized. It's cool.
Real, it's kind of weird that we encourage weightlifting in prison.
Right. You would think you wouldn't want them to be all buff. Fucking now they can really kick my ass. Fantastic.
Yeah, like you would think that they would want to like slow down cardio and weight training in prison.
Right.
Like I don't want to chase you very far if you get away. And I definitely don't want to have a really rough fight once I catch you.
Well, I don't want you to be as big as they're all humongous.
Yeah,
like that's all there is to do. So
I never understood that.
He had claimed that he used to be a prize fighter. There was never really any proof of it, but his rap sheet is over 100 pages long. Dude was busy, I guess. He was able to stay under the radar for all that time because he kept switching his names. He'd be like Sam Little, I think McDowell, Samuel Daniels. He'd just change his last name. In late 1976, this is one of the first ones. Skip to 1976. A Pamela Smith showed up on a stranger's doorstep, naked and beaten, with hands bound behind her back. Electrical cord had been used to tie her up. And let's see, they called, the stranger called the cops and basically told them what had happened to her. A man had choked her from behind. He'd snuck up behind her, choked her from behind with the electrical cord, forced her into a car where he beat her until she was unconscious. He drove her away to Sunset Hills. Now, I should know this. I think that's California, correct?
Fine, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Sunset Hills is in California at this time, where he raped her. She managed to escape somehow and then ran to the house where that's where they called the cops. It didn't take long for them to find Little. The 36-year-old was just sitting in his car in Sunset Hills with all of her shit still like in the seat, like not hiding. So he claimed that he didn't rape her, that he only beat her. He was arrested and given 3 months in the county jail. Pamela was a heroin addict, and most likely that was the reason that he only got 3 months. So this happened like over and over with his story. Like, I did a bunch of research as much as I could find, and there's all the stories were similar to this, different scenario, different woman, but essentially he got caught every time and was given almost no time because prostitutes, and in quotes it said that his victims were considered unreliable witnesses. Drugs, so kind of sucks. Little always got off light. He continued to move around, shoplifting his way around the country. Little had he had a longtime girlfriend named Jean. She was like a lot older. Like, there's one photo of him and her, and she's like this old lady. Like, it's really weird. But apparently she was like a sugar mama. She was also a skilled criminal that specialized in theft. She supported them for years while he traveled around and did what he was doing. She died in the late 80s. So obviously she can't speak for herself, but they said that she's not considered an accomplice, but most likely knew of his actions. No shit.
Isn't that exactly what the fuck an accomplice is?
Right. Well, she didn't help him do anything is what they're saying. Sorry. But okay, yeah, you're right.
I get that, but like...
It is exactly what an accomplice is.
Like, knowing of a crime and then not turning the person in is an accomplice to the crime. You are complicit with the crimes that are being... Okay, continue.
You're right. It is the definition of accomplice.
Continue.
All right. So in 1982, Little was arrested in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and charged with the murder of 22-year-old Melinda Rose Lepre, who had gone missing in September of that year. A grand jury declined to indict Little for the murder of Lepre. However, while under investigation, Little was transferred to Florida to be brought to trial for the murder of 26-year-old Patricia Ann Mount, whose body was found in September of 1982. Prosecution witnesses identified Little in court as a person who spent time with Mount on the night before her disappearance. Due to the mistrust of the witness testimonies, Little was acquitted in January of '84.
Are these all hookers?
The majority, drug users, hookers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious. Just curious.
Yeah. And I think I actually wrote it, but basically, he chose these people for a reason. He didn't think anybody'd miss them. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you'll start seeing a pattern. Little was, let's see, he moved to California where he stayed in the vicinity of San Diego. In October '84, he was arrested for kidnapping, beating, and strangling 22-year-old Lori Barros, who survived. 1 month later, he was found by police in the backseat of his car with an unconscious woman, also beaten and strangled, in the same location as the attempted murder of Barros. Little served 2.5 years in prison for both crimes. Upon his release in February of '87, he immediately moved to Los Angeles and committed more than 10 additional murders. Little was arrested on September 5th, 2012 at a homeless shelter in Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville,
DeVille. and extradited to California to face a narcotics charge, after which authorities used DNA testing to establish that he was involved in the murder of Carol something Elford, killed on July 13th, 1987. Guadalupe Duarte Apodaca, killed on September 3rd, 1987. Yeah, I know. That name was a tough one. Sorry, Guadalupe. No offense. Killed in 87. Huh?
Guadalupe.
Yeah. Audrey Nelson Everett, killed on August 14th, 89. All three women were killed and later found on the streets of Los Angeles. He was extradited to Los Angeles, where he was charged on January 7th, 2013. A few months later, the police said that Little was being investigated for involvement in dozens of murders committed in the 80s, which until then had been undisclosed. In connection with the new circumstances in Mississippi, the LaPree murder case was reopened. In total, Little was tested for involvement in 93 murders of women committed in the United States. 93. So, like I said, he chose these women because he thought no one would be looking for him. This is something that was weird because everybody always asks, well, why was he doing it? You know, he would rape them a lot of times, but there was never, try not to get too gross, but tough shit. There's no way to say this. There was never any semen inside the woman's anal, you know, there was no semen inside. He would basically just jerk off on them. So they don't know if it was sexual gratification or if he was just a sicko who liked to strangle people or whatever, but he said that he was triggered by necks, like literally necks. He said he never killed people he loved, and he did so and he was able to do so by refusing to look at their necks, which is really weird. The first woman he killed was because she was repeatedly touching her neck. She was like sitting in a restaurant and he was just watching her and she kept touching his neck, and apparently it set him off. And his words were, it was a sign from God. So dude was fucked. If there's a God, he screwed the fucking pooch making that dude. But he would torture these women. He would strangle them, not every time, but numerous times he would strangle them just enough to where they wouldn't die. They would come to, and then he'd strangle them again and then repeat over. And he was torturing with them. He was playing with them. And again, he would a lot of times he would masturbate while he was strangling them, and he said he would laugh. Like, dude was sick. He was fucked. I mean, like, there's no way around this. He said that he loved women and respected them. He called his victims his babies, and they all had lived together, and that they would all live together in his mind now. Yeah, he's sick. Like, I mean, there's no way around it. They have tons of videos of this dude in prison, like, confessing to this stuff. And you can literally see him getting, and I watched him, you could see him getting excited. I mean, talking about these things. It's pretty fucked. Samuel Little has received 4 life sentences and will die in prison, obviously. He is currently 79. He has a heart condition, so it's not going to be long. This is the crazy part of the story, and I know what you're going to say. This is the crazy part. But so he has confessed to killing 93 women, and the FBI says all of his confessions are credible, like all of them. They say he's telling the truth. Have you heard of this, by the way? Like, are you familiar? I know you've heard of Samuel Little, but
I've heard that he was considered one of the most prolific serial killers.
All right. So
that's about the limit of my
extent.
knowledge.
Okay. All right. So literally, this is from NewYorkTimes.com, and it kind of summarizes. And I thought it was, well, I'll just read it. The title is Samuel Little is the most prolific serial killer in the U.S. history, FBI says. Mr. Little, 79 years old, has confessed to 93 murders, and the agency believes that all of his confessions are credible. After years of painstaking investigation into the grisly confessions of a graying man in a wheelchair, Yeah, dude's 79, and all these interviews, like he's older. I mean, it's crazy. He literally remembers the details of all of these women, their names, their height, their weight, like where he was at. Like, it's pretty crazy. But because he's getting older, they're trying to get, you know what I mean? Like this is recent because they're still trying, before he dies, they're trying to
Close
close
as
all
many
the cases.
cases as they can.
Yeah, right. Um, let's see, announces on Sunday that Samuel Little, who has admitted to strangling vulnerable women across the country for decades, is the most prolific known serial killer in American history. He has confessed to 93 murders. The agency said in the statement that it had verified 50 of the killings and that it believed that all of his confessions are credible. Now the FBI is looking for help identifying the rest of the victims, a task it says is more urgent because of his age, poor health, what we just said. Over the weekend, the agency was asking for assistance from the public after releasing 5 sketches that Mr. Little had drawn of the women he claimed to have killed, with information about where he had met each one. So this is what most people like, and if you Google it, I don't know if you can see that, but he has done sketches of not all 93, but numerous women that he has killed or claimed to kill. And the sketches, although I mean, it's not like one of the, like we made fun of the wanted posters like back in the day. It's not that bad. I mean, there's definitely details, blue eye color, like, but they're using this and sending it out to people, trying to identify, trying to get information, close the case. Because a lot of them, he doesn't remember their names, but he remembers their faces. So this dude's literally drawing pictures of these women that he's killed. He's got like details on the picture of like their weight, their height. So he remembers all these weird fucking gross details. Yeah, yes, you in the back. Question?
Why? I'm sure there's an answer, but why the fuck aren't they cross-referencing these details with missing persons from time? You know what
They
I'm saying?
are.
Like, okay,
That's what they're doing. I mean, they are. In fact, there's a list. I didn't go, well, maybe I'm going to say it. Yeah, I think I'll tell you how many are actually. The problem is they don't have names. So a lot of these women were found and with no identification, and so they're nameless. Other people had, their bodies are still missing, and so they're asking if anybody has any information. I don't know, man. There's what, 50 of them. They said they had, what, 50? Is that what I said? 50 were closed. 93 cases. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, and it's from the 80s, so I mean, shit, dude, that's probably hard as hell to do. I mean, I would think.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just like just trying to narrow the field, bro. Just trying to narrow the field. Like,
Right.
It is weird though. It is weird that he remembers like height, weight, detail, like minute details about all of these people.
Yeah.
But the name Sharon fucking
Yeah.
escapes his memory.
Them.
Like
So,
93 is a big number though. Like I will give you that. Like 93, like dude, that's.
yeah. Well, so after Mr. Little was approached by a Texas Ranger seeking information about 18 months ago, and this was, by the way, this article was written last year, just for reference. He has confessed crimes to numerous prosecutors and police officers who have flown to Lancaster prison, where he is serving consecutive life sentences for 3 murders from the 80s. Prosecutors say they have closed dozens of homicide investigations dating back nearly 5 decades. Some of the cases they feared would never have been solved. For many years, Samuel Little believed he would not be caught because he thought no one was accounting for his victims. Even though he is already in prison, the FBI believes it is important to seek justice for each victim. Well, yeah, to close each case. I get that. Mr. Little has been convicted of at least 8 murders, including several he had confessed to. Prosecutors around the country are still weighing whether to formally charge him for killings. It was uncertain how many charges he will ultimately face. No one representing Mr. Little could be reached for comment. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, was convicted of 49 murders in Washington state during the 80s and 90s, which was the highest number of murder convictions for any American serial killer.
Oh, I'm sorry, like, not to take us on a different tangent, but like literally I got a Green River Killer story.
Yeah. Oh.
Like I know that motherfucker like used his like phone time to call one of the victims that had escaped that survived. He called his victim and was like, "I'm coming to kill you, bitch," and like hung up the phone. Like just called her to fuck with her.
Oh my God.
Like, okay, sorry, I digress, but like,
well, so strangely, I don't know. One, I didn't realize that the Green River Killer had the highest number of murder convictions for any American serial killer. Hello, new episode. I actually don't know that much about him, but maybe you do. But shit. So that's why they're saying he's the most prolific, because of the number is now the highest number, if in fact 93 is accurate. Mr. Little was arrested 12 times for crimes. Oh, they're gonna. We've already covered most of this. In addition to his prison cell conversations with law enforcement officials, Mr. Little has drawn dozens of detailed portraits. Over 45 years, he targeted marginalized women, including prostitutes and drug users. The authorities say most of them were African American. He often knew only their first names or nicknames. The FBI noted that many of the deaths of Mr. Little's victims had originally been ruled as overdoses or from accidental or unknown causes. In other cases, the women went missing and their bodies were never found, but their cases drew little attention. While Mr. Little has offered many details, investigators fear that his memory is becoming not entirely reliable. He is often fuzzy on the year. That can make matching his versions of events to local police records challenging, and help from the public even more essential, according to investigators. Okay. Among the 5 new sketches released to the public, one depicts a transgender woman named Marianne that Mr. Little met in Miami in 1971. This goes into detail about an actual situation where he killed her. I don't need to get into all that. In a series of videotaped interviews with Mr. Little from a prison cell that were released by the FBI this week, Mr. Little became visibly excited as he discussed the killings. Yeah, I mean, and if you Google Samuel Little, there's about 4 sites like right up front that you can get some information, but almost all of them are either a YouTube video that somebody's actually presenting, like doing like a podcast or a blog or something, or it's his confession tapes, because there's tons of them. His words here in one of the things is, "Oh man, I loved her. I forgot her name. Oh yeah, I think it was Ruth." So this is a little old man who's telling these stories. It's pretty fucking disturbing, because he talks about strangling them like he talks about buying a candy bar or something. You know what I mean? So like just.
Yeah, like this dude reminds me a lot of Fish.
Yeah.
Just like
no children. Thank God.
Like no children. But the fact, just like the idea of like the little old man, like.
Yeah.
And like I understand what the police and law enforcement are doing, trying to like put a bow on, like close these cases and give these families some closure.
Yeah.
I get that. Like I don't feel like this one is like one of those, like the Iceman killer who was just like, "Oh, I killed hundreds. Yeah. I killed hobos. I killed like he just wanted to hear himself talk." This guy's
like, "Look, man, I'm not getting out. You guys want to hear a story? I've got nothing else to do, so I'll talk with you." And he's literally, and honestly, it's freaky, because you watch the videos and he's like, damn, he's kind of likable, but the words coming out of his mouth, you're like, oh no, he's not. He's a monster. Like, he's horrible. Here it says, and I'm pretty much done, but nothing he's ever said, and this is in quotes from one of the detectives, or Texas Ranger, nothing he's ever said has been proven to be wrong or false. We've been able to prove up almost everything he said. The videotaped interviews released by the FBI, Mr. Little spoke about the killings as if they were ordinary events, frequently interrupting his stories with smiles and laughter. He did too, man. It was gross. His recollections were full of detail, often including the names of streets and the clothing his victims wore. He has expressed no remorse, which is absolutely correct. He's not sorry about this shit. And I'll end with his God put me on this earth to do what I did. He made me. God. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and so that
So
is Samuel Little, my friend.
let me ask you this. Like, so they don't know like where some of these bodies are. Like, was he actively like hiding bodies, or was he just like dumping them on the side of the road? Like,
So he did both actually. For example, let me give you a. Well, one lady he literally threw off a cliff. Another one he put in a lake. Another one he just left like by the side of the road. He talked in one of the interviews how he just laid the body like on a pile of trash behind a gas station. Like he was really random. It seemed like the crazy thing about him and what's he's so old now that he's not like scary to me. Like you hear some people and you're like, oh, it's frightening. But he drugs were always involved. So usually, and actually pictures of him younger because his rap sheet is really long. So there's actually a photo of all of his mug shots, and you can literally see him age through the system. Like there's a shot as he grows older. He was a big dude, but he wasn't afraid to get caught at all, ever.
we didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
Well, and there's that too, but he also didn't think anybody would miss these women. He was like, I'll just put her here. So he was never like trying to cover up anything. That's the whole crazy. And he got caught a bunch, but they just kept anytime. Well, he got caught for people who survived, like, and everything, but they discredited it because they were, either a prostitute or a drug user or something like that.
Did you say like when his first murder was?
Yeah, it was
first credited murder, like, because I get that he was doing like this miscreant shit, like he was like B&E, and like there was like the attempted rape charge. There's shit here and there that he's doing like a month stretch, this and that, like, but like something flipped the switch. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point, like, unless he was doing it the whole fucking time.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Never got caught.
That's what they're basically saying. So in 82 is when he was first arrested for the murder of Melinda Rose LaPree, who had gone missing in September of that year. So that was the first time he got arrested. So, and he didn't get out of jail. Oh no, he was acquitted in 84, but then, so he got arrested in 84 again, and then he didn't get out. But so the first murder was in 82 that he was arrested for, but because of whatever, he got acquitted. But he had been, the whole time he had been in transient, moving around, robbing and doing everything else, he was also murdering. He just never got caught for it. So technically, unfortunately, he was right. And so shame on, the popo for not fucking, looking for missing prostitutes and stuff. I guess they also didn't care. And so unfortunately, that's why he kept doing it, kept getting away with it.
Well, dude, that is the same fucking story that we told with the fucking, the Ripper crew, man. The reason that they got away with that they didn't get away with it for very long. Like, in the grand scheme of things, that was a pretty short stint. Like, it was like a year and a half, 2 years that they were doing fucking crazy shit. But the reason that nobody even started looking into it was because, it was prostitutes and shit at the beginning. The only reason anybody even started looking into the shit with the Ripper crew was because it was like a real estate agent that got attacked.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at if you go to like Wikipedia, like confirmed murders, and there's like a list here. One of them is in 1980, Jane Doe, and that's Cincinnati, Ohio. Suspected murders, there's a list, and there's like, in quotations, a Linda, a Marianne, because he's just giving them a name, first name or a nickname, unnamed black female, unnamed white female, Emily. Like, so it's probably hard as hell. Joe, like, it's probably hard as hell to try to track down and match all that. You know what I mean? So
No, I get that. So how many? Like, I know they're pretty much considering like confirmed 93.
that's how many. That's how many he admitted or is claiming that he killed, and so far he's never lied about any of them. So they're assuming.
Right, but I guess my question is, how many of them have they linked? Like of the 93, how many of them have been attributed to a body? You know what I'm saying? Like, so how many closed cases have they pulled out of the 93? Like, is it 40? Is it 20? Is it 70?
Yeah, I thought that it said it right there at the end of that article. I thought it was 20. Is that wrong? Mr. Little. I feel like, I don't know where it is, but I feel like I read the number 20. So a lot, but not 93.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like I just read it out loud, but then again, I read a bunch of numbers. So I mean, was convicted of 49. No, that's the Greenway, or the Green River Killer. So this dude is, to be called the most prolific. I don't know if I like it, but anyway, to be considered one of the most prolific serial killers in American history, it's a little premature just because it's still going on. Like, I mean, it's currently, like the investigation right now is literally happening. So they're assuming that 93 is accurate because that's what he said. They don't have, I mean, it sounds shitty to be like, it's not a competition, but as of right now, the Green River Killer still has the most confirmed kill.
Right.
So I sent you that meme because I thought that it had happened immediately, but it was talking about Samuel Little in 2012 being arrested in Louisville. For those that don't know, obviously, or haven't listened to other episodes, that's where we live. So that's what first got my attention about this guy. And then the more I read, especially when I started getting into the interviews and stuff, because he talks about it so nonchalant, it's really it's horrific to hear this little old man just, and he does talk about these women like, oh, I loved her, like she was great. Or one of them, he's like, oh, she was a big old girl. I couldn't have carried her by myself, so she stayed where she was at. Real weird, like just hearing this old guy talk about this stuff so matter-of-factly.
Okay, so law enforcement has been able to verify 50 confessions, 50 murder confessions.
It was 50. You're right.
So I mean, they're like halfway through.
Well, and so technically he is one over the Green River Killer, I guess. So he has got the biggest body count of any American serial killer.
Yeah, I find it. I mean, I'm glad. I don't know why I'm glad about this, but I'm glad we're not like burning through taxpayer dollars trying to continuously convict this guy of murders.
Right.
Like, they got him and they're just like, look, dude, we're just trying to fucking close cases. Like, we're just trying to confirm.
Yeah. I do. I like that.
Murders. Yeah. But I am glad that they're not just like, okay, new trial. Like,
yeah, why would they waste money on that? Because,
yeah, dude, we know he's going to die in prison.
He's going to die soon. And so they are kind of, running around getting as many as they can.
You know how much I think we both are in many cases a very strong advocate for the capital punishment.
Yeah.
Especially in kind of cases like this. I'm actually glad they're keeping him alive to solve more cases.
Yeah.
Just
and he's trying to help. Like, he's literally like, I'm not.
I don't know.
So there's a difference.
I think help is a strong word. Brag is probably a more. They're willing to listen, and it gives him something to do.
Right.
I
but
don't think he's fabricating the stories.
no, it seems very, and he doesn't come off as gloaty or cocky about it. That's what's weird is he's just being like, yeah, okay, I'll tell you a story about that one. Yeah, that's da 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 da, you know, and
He's just telling his life story. He's just
basically, yeah, yeah. And he's like reliving it. That's the creepy. You can see him like he's going, "What's it?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," because he mentions like Kroger, and I'm like, "Oh, that's creepy," because it's like, fuck, that's literally here. And but he'll just be like, "Yeah, that's what it was," and then you know, and so you can see him just reliving it. And then when he starts talking about strangling someone, or you could see him like kind of smirk, and it's like, "Oh, dude, it's creepy as shit." And it's, you know, it's a pretty wild. It didn't, for me, it didn't disappoint because it was like, holy shit. And I liked the ending because he's locked up, he's not getting out, he's going to die in prison, but there is still positive things that are kind of happening. You know, somebody may actually be able to get some closure. You know, a family member might actually get some closure all these years later.
By the way, your statement about the composite sketches that he gave in comparison to the Wild West wanted posters, you're wildly crediting this man as giving better, like, no, dude, I feel like it would be easier to find the people in a wanted poster than these fucking,
it looks like
I'm a terrible artist, and I will admit that 100%, but I feel like I could give you a better sketch of a person's face than some of the shit that this guy
well
has.
no, so it looks like a fucking elementary school kid drew it, but the attention to detail is what I mean, like the actual like color of the eyes, like the color of the scarf, the color of the hair, like his details, the necklace, like all those details are actually there. That's all. I didn't say they were like good drawings. Like the wanted posters are like fucking one, it's not in color and it's, you know, fucking. So I wasn't trying to say dude's a fucking good artist.
I thought that's what you were like pushing at, and I was looking at it, and I was like,
Yeah, maybe I should have been more clear. No, I just meant like they're actually providing like details. No, they look all like their heads discombobulated, like it's all weird, and yeah, they're creepy as hell. I mean, is what they are. I mean, when you really think about it, but they have actually found and closed cases off of these drawings, which is pretty wild. So
I'm glad that
that's Samuel Little.
That somebody could connect that one of those pictures to somebody that, you know, but.
Well, imagine if it was like a relative and you go, oh, dude, like she had that color scarf on when she went missing, or I don't know, whatever. Fuck. I get it. They look fucking, yeah, they're shitty drawings. Oh, you dickhead. But anyway, so yeah, you know, the most prolific serial killer is not as, you know, people are always talking about the goriest and the most bloody and the most disgusting and dark and everything. But this is pure numbers, body count, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was brutal because he strangled them and raped and did horrible shit. But you know, compared to like Dahmer, everybody always, because Dahmer ate people, and that's just more, you know.
Your favorite subject, cannibalism.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, Samuel Little, this dude is he's gonna die soon, and I'm all right with that. But hopefully they find a few more people before he does.
Well, yeah, so I mean, that's the real thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Dahmer's not a slouch. Like Dahmer's credited with 17 people.
Dude, and so like I figured one day we'll eventually do Dahmer, but I actually did some research on him once, and I listened to an actual podcast who did it, and I was like unaware of some of how disgusting that motherfucker was.
Yeah, dude.
I knew. I mean, dude, you eat people, you're fucking another level. But he's, oof.
Dude, not to do whatever, but I saw something the other day, and it was about Ed Gein or whatever. And like, I know that's going to be an episode.
Yeah.
We've actually talked about that episode, but they literally had like he had made a necklace of tongues, like human tongues.
Gein?
Yeah, Ed Gein did. And they literally had a woman modeling the necklace like recently. And I'm like, why?
For what?
Like, why the fuck are we, like, why did anyone hang on to it?
Why'd you keep it? Why is it not in the box?
Like, I get that the case is closed and, whatever, but if somebody bought that and that's part of their personal collection, like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah,
but like, there's a whole bunch of like weird like trinkets that Ed Gein had in general. Like, he had human skin lampshades and he made like gloves out of human skin and shit like that. Like, all sorts of weird stuff. And I know a lot of that stuff is still out in the world, like still exists. But like the picture of like the woman wearing the tongue necklace, and like she didn't seem that creeped out wearing the necklace, and the fact that somebody thought that was a good photo op, and I'm like,
I gotta Google now. Jesus.
Like, why? Like, what are we doing? Like,
I don't know about that one. I'll have to Google that one and find out. Or maybe, hey, season 3, Ed Gein, Dahmer, maybe. Never know.
If I can just go on a stretch of like heavy hitters for like 10 episodes.
So that's kind of where I was going. Like, he is not considered a heavy hitter yet, but he will be. I feel like, there's not that much information on him. It's not written yet. You know what I mean? So it's not documented. It's being documented, but
they're still playing catch up, man. They're still chasing their ass on this case.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So I'm wondering if, he will become a heavy hitter just because of the number. And he's made it into the history books for some horrible shit, So
yeah, I mean, I really think that a lot of times, man, these guys get like labeled as heavy hitters because of the brutality of their crimes. Like,
yeah, the goriness.
Like Jack the Ripper is considered a heavy hitter, right? I mean, it took me 12 minutes to shit on Jack the Ripper, but it was brutality, really, more like. And I'm not saying like these guys need to be out there like fucking getting these body counts up. Like,
yeah, don't step up your games. Yeah,
like that's not the point I'm trying to make here at all. It's just like this dude. Like, I also think it probably has to do with the cross section of the public that he was killing. Like,
it does,
and how long he was getting away with it.
Yeah,
this is a lot like that story you did out of Canada, where I feel like it's like, oh shit, like this has been going on, and like we should have really been.
They dropped the ball. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like they weren't looking for these women because of who they were in society or whatever you want to say.
They weren't credible witnesses.
Credible witnesses, right? So yeah, what sucks is that he was right. He was able to get away with it because nobody cared about these women, and he was right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's pretty fucked. But yay, happy before bedtime story.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is. Like,
yeah. Well, I thought it was an awesome suggestion. Like I said, he was on my list, and so I enjoyed doing the research and learning. And actually, Green River Killer, I'm like, holy shit, I guess we got to do something about him because I'm curious. A couple of the articles, and steer clear. Well, whatever, do whatever the fuck y'all want. But like, it's one of those like Green River hitter or Green River Killer got knocked off out of first place. They were doing it like, oh, like we got a new, whatever. And I was like, dude, don't celebrate the motherfucker.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where Unicorn Farts Bill came from.
Right, yeah. Well, true. Yeah, this guy does not have a fucking cool serial killer nickname yet. So wait for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think he'll get one either.
Hopefully not.
Nobody fucking knew. Like, the only reason they get those names is because it's in the paper or it's on the news.
Because they're looking for them. Yeah, right. So, Sammy Little, old, in prison, he's going to be dead.
Yeah.
There's your bow. There's your bow.
I mean, I hate to say it this way, but, like, I hope that they actually... The 93 that he's admitted to, I hope that they can give some solace to the families or, you know, bring some closure to maybe some missing persons cases.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they're at 50, and I don't think they're going to make it to 93 before he dies, dude. You should see he's old. He's not in good shape. So, in fact, he could be dead by the time this podcast airs. So.
I looked it up. He's still like there's no like he's not in intensive care. Like
he's not. He's still kicking.
Like, yeah.
So. Hey, go ahead and listen to a couple of his interviews before you go to sleep. So he tells great stories.
I'm good, man.
All right.
I'm good.
Well, I don't have anything else to add to Mr. Samuel Little, the most prolific serial killer in American history.
Yeah. I'm good too, man.
All right, brother.
I don't need to dig anymore.
All right.
You did him justice.
There it is. All right. Well, we got one left. You're going to tackle it next. The ayahuasca, Kentucky cult. Something.
Ayahuasca trippy cult.
Trippy
cult.
And then we'll I don't know what the fuck we're doing after that, but we'll do something fun.
Fun. Hard quote.
Something
Hard
fun.
quote.
We've done a lot of fun episodes, but yeah, you're right. Most of them are not. Fun is not the right adjective.
So, all right, man.
All right, man.
See you on the other side.
Sleep well. Later, brother. Good shit. Stop.